Right, he is still the front runner nationally, but that doesn't quite close the deal, does it? I'm talking about Joe Biden raising eyebrows over potential health issues. This is Senator Elizabeth Warren continues to jump in the polls. Some are questioning now if the former vice president has a problem, and one that could cost him as the race drags on. Now, a lot of this isn't necessarily based on national polls, where he seems to have an insurmountable lead, but do keep in mind that this goes first to caucuses, then primaries, so you have to go state by state before you could talk about what's happening on the national front. The Wall Street Journal's Eliza Collins joining us, Democratic strategist Kevin Cade, and we've got the Independent Women's Forum's Beverly Hallberg. You know, it's still very early, Beverly, but I'm wondering your read on the former vice president's performance and everything else, whether the fact that this keeps getting mentioned keeps sort of brewing the pot here. What do you think?
Yeah, if it was just one gaffe, I don't think we'd be talking about this. Some may even say that that's part of Biden's charm, that he's authentic. But it's the week after week, sometimes day after day, where he continues to have these gaffes. I think what we're going to be looking towards is September 12th, where you have, for the first time, you're going to have Elizabeth Warren and Joe Biden take each other on the Democratic debate stage. So I'm interested to see who's going to come out stronger in that. Biden's going to have a good showing, because what I hear Democrats say off the record that they're very concerned about his stamina long term in this campaign, and also whether or not he can go head to head with Trump in a debate scenario. So I think that's what Democrats are looking at. I think there's reason for them to be concerned.
You know, Kevin, when I look at the math here, it's always the electoral vote. Remember that, Hillary Clinton did win the popular vote nationally, but we play by the electoral vote system, and it was those 78,000 votes, the ones that he picked up over Hillary Clinton in Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan, that made him president of the United States. And it's in those states, not across the board, but including some of the others, where Biden's lead narrows among some of the other candidates, leaving aside the president. So I'm beginning to wonder whether some of this is already percolating. What do you think?
Well, I think it's really early. I mean, that's what we're paying attention to it. You're paying attention to it. Your viewers are paying attention to it. But I'm in New Hampshire right now, where people are getting the firsthand interactions with these candidates, and that's really what's important. And as far as Biden's health is concerned, and kind of second guessing now on this stage, Taylor Swift has a great lyric in her new album saying, "If you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes." And I would strongly encourage any of our
that is original, man. That's very original. Well, what do you make of that, Eliza?
Well,
I mean,
that's why
go ahead, finish that. I'm sorry,
well,
Kevin,
what I was going to say is, like, this is the prize of second guessing and calling Biden gaffe-oriented or raising these health questions is not going to win any Democrat anything. You need to be on the ground with your own message. You're not going to win by tearing somebody else down.
Yeah, well, it's a very good point. You know, Eliza, one of the things that happens, albeit early, to Kevin's point, and what we're talking about here, is that it's almost like the party wants to test whether, you know, the vice president can absorb these body blows, maybe right his ship here, you know, before things pile on, because there was a point when Jeb Bush was undeniably going to be the Republican nominee before he wasn't. There was a point where Hillary Clinton was going to run away with the last election before she didn't, or win the nomination in 2008 before another guy named Barack Obama did. So it is a reminder that unless you put some early concerns to bed and fast, you've got some problems and fast, don't you?
Right. Well, Democrats certainly want the strongest candidate possible to beat the president, and it's easier to air out all of their issues with each other than on stage with Trump, who is known to very successfully take people's issues and target them. But Democrats also, there are a whole bunch of other candidates who want to beat Joe Biden. And so some of this is just natural primary people attacking one another. But Biden has been prone to gaffes for years and years in previous presidential runs. And that is, I mean, this was mentioned earlier, but it is part of his appeal, maybe not so many, but when I am on the ground talking to voters in these early states, at least, for many of them, there really isn't much concern. Strategists I have talked to are starting to wonder and say, you know, there have been a lot, but voters, they say it's Uncle Joe, you know, he means something different. He might have said something a little bit wrong, but they really put a lot of faith into Biden's overall message, even if he says it a little bit wrong.
And they do like him, right? Beverly, the one advantage he has, maybe because he's the best known and maybe because he's been around a while, a lot of people certainly know him, he is likable, and that counts for a great deal, or does it? What do you think?
I think likability matters. I also think authenticity matters. I think one of the reasons why Elizabeth Warren has done better is not only does she seem to really care about the issues she talks about, she doesn't sound like a talking point drone, but at the same time, she's tried to distance herself from a Bernie Sanders who is only talking about a socialist message. She talks about capitalism. Definitely disagree with her definition of it if you look at her plans, but she's tried to distinguish herself. I think, though, what's interesting about the primary so far is that you haven't seen many candidates change much in the polls. So I don't think it's too early. I do think what we're seeing now does matter.
Kevin, that means it does matter. So if that's the case, it should matter to Joe Biden.
Well, it should matter, but if you look at the early states, like the whole campaign is different. So you look at the national polls, you see who's popular nationally. You see Beto getting a lot of coverage, Pete getting a lot of coverage. But if you actually come to these states, I'm in New Hampshire right now with Tom Steyer. I mean, Tom Steyer is in fifth place in the morning consult poll of early states, and nobody's talking about that nationally. But what happens here is the votes actually matter. Remember, Joe Biden didn't even make it to New Hampshire last time.
You're right.
I mean, people need to understand there's a way that this actually works, and what happens on the ground in these early states is way more important than what's going on in a national poll with 500 people responding to a phone call. I don't know how many times you've gotten a poll and responded, but it doesn't happen often for real people.
Yeah, I'm usually the one asking them, who did you vote for? All right, thank you very much, guys, all of you. It is too early. We're being a little kidding here, but it is a reminder. It's a snapshot in time. A little more to this.